in Scotland, we've got 560 plus courses in a place of only 6 million people. And there's a lot of golf. You will never drive more than 20 minutes, half an hour before coming on another golf course.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Whole Story Podcast. Robbie here, welcoming you to another Monday series this month. We are in June. Obviously, you can listen to these whenever, and this episode can prove that. This month, we are looking at golf travel, right? So going different places, talking to different people that either specialize in it, that talk about certain areas, that just encourage you to grab the clubs and go somewhere. So today we are taking a flashback to an early episode. This one's actually almost 3 years ago. So it was in our first season. We talked to David Jones, better known as the UK golf guy. We had a great chat with him. He was very kind to give us a shot. I think it was episode 18 of the whole story. And so, yeah, we had a great chat with him. He has done some incredible things up till that point, and he keeps crushing it. So highly encourage you to check out everything he's doing. UK Golf Guy will have links in the show notes to where you can find him. But yeah, we're talking all about travel, and what better way to start than another look back at our conversation with David Jones, UK Golf Guy. As always, these are brought to you by our friends at Summit Golf Brands, the Beach Zero Restriction, Fairway and Green. If you go to any of their sites and use BestBall20, you can save 20% on your order. And if you are planning a trip to the UK, maybe some of that zero restriction rain gear would be appropriate. That's what we got it for. So anyway, David Jones, UK Golf Guy. Y'all enjoy. All right, golf fans, welcome to the Whole Story Podcast. This is Robbie. You will notice Jonathan is not here yet. He is coming. He is in travel mode still, so he will join us probably midway through the podcast. Today's guest, we've got David Jones. David, better known around the golf world maybe as the UK Golf Guy. He's got a great Twitter handle, I'm sure other social media as well. Got a website, UK Golf Guy, specializes in course reviews, golf trip planning, golf execution of golf trips. You can go join him on some great golf trips as well. But David, I really appreciate you joining me and us today on the Whole Story Podcast.
Lovely to be here. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, how did let me ask you just the basic. How did you get started in golf?
Gosh, how did I get started? So I live in Scotland now. I actually grew up in Essex, just outside of London, hence the accent's not a Scottish accent. And as a kid, I used to go up with my father, to be honest with you. He was always into golf, played at a cult course actually called Thorndon Park, which was just in Essex, the northeast of London. And probably when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, I'd go up with him, walk around with him in the evenings, hit the odd chip and the odd putt to begin with, and it kind of started from there. We moved up to Scotland when I was 11, and lived in Edinburgh, and Edinburgh's got tons of local courses which anyone can pay and play. That was back in the mid 1980s, and I'd pay, I think it's 50p. And for 50p, you could go out and play 18 holes. And it was a good way to spend my youth.
Sure. Did you play in a lot of junior tour events, or did you just play for fun? Or
No, purely for fun. I was never that good, to be honest with you.
yeah,
I think when I was about 14, 15, my handicap was probably 18, and it's dropped a few shots from there, but not a huge amount. But always just enjoyed going out with my friends. I mean, we are blessed in Edinburgh. It's light in the morning in the summer at 4:30, and you can be on the golf course till quarter to 11, 11 o'clock at night where I am. So as I was a kid, I used to go up and play 18 holes in the morning early, and then pop off to school after that. So yeah, we could get plenty of golf in.
very nice, very nice. Well, obviously the Open Championship just ended. Now, I believe you mentioned you got to go and be a part of that for a few days. Well, um, kind of give us your take of the Open this year at Royal Liverpool.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I went down on the Wednesday practice day. When I got there about lunchtime, there was still tons of players out there some of the loudest crowds there were all week, I think, like huge enthusiasm, really good natured, beautiful weather. Then I went on the Thursday, and walked around with a few groups on the Thursday. There's a hell of a lot of people on site. I think they had over 50,000 a day. Um, and the good thing about Royal Liverpool is it is quite a large site. The area where they normally have the practice ground, they turn it over to some of the tented village, and they've got lots of other space on the course as well. So there's actually, from an infrastructure point of view, it works pretty well, but there's still over 50,000 people out there watching. So you tend to find they put up lots of individual grandstands. So you can sit in a grandstand, watch a few groups come through, and then maybe get a few holes ahead, do the same thing. It's quite hard just to watch a single group all the way around. But having said that, compared to some of the other courses on the open rotor, it works really well. And I was lucky because I was there when it's really plenty of sun, a little bit of wind, but made for quite interesting golf.
Sure.
And it just, I mean, we had the most amazing spring and early summer in the UK. There were weeks upon ends, didn't get any rain. By the middle of June, all of the golf courses were just running so fast. It was incredible. And then it started to rain, and it just felt that even if you look at the Open itself, it was exciting on that Thursday. I was standing next to the 18th green when you saw John Rahm and Rory McIlroy having to chip out of the bunker next to the green because they couldn't
Yeah.
go for the green. And that's like, wow, this is something really different, and this is something really cool to watch. Um, and then on the Friday, they changed the bunkers back, so the balls rolled into the middle again. And then it just started to rain. And I watched Saturday and Sunday on the TV. I didn't have any pangs of, geez, I wish I was there, because the atmosphere, you could just tell it just wasn't quite where it could be. And I think that's probably because of, like, when you have someone winning by so much, that kind of takes a bit of the adrenaline and the excitement about for anything else. And that's not to take away from Brian Harman at all. He won it incredibly well, but everyone prefers it when there's 10 players within a couple of shots on the Sunday afternoon. And the weather as well. It's kind of obvious, but if you're holding it on and trying to keep the rain off you, it's hard to clap when you're cold and wet. So as a result, the atmosphere just wasn't quite as good as it could have been. So to be honest, I was really excited about it going into it. Well done to the winner. Can't take anything away from him. Is it a classic Open we're going to remember for years? No, it's not, is it?
Yeah, I agree. And Jonathan, welcome. Appreciate you joining us. Jonathan, David, nice for you guys to meet there.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yeah, sorry for being a little late. Your city of London is a little difficult to traverse, so um, I'm actually staying in Leicester Square. I'm sure I didn't say that right. And you can't park a
Yeah,
car anywhere near
Leicester
there.
Square. So you can't park your car near Leicester Square. It's
No, you
kind of our
can't.
Times Square. So if I were to drive into the middle of Manhattan and try to park my car next to Times Square, would you think that I was a fool
Well,
or not?
I was just in Times Square last November, and yes, if I had been planning a little differently, we would have gone different. I would like to say I'm going to remember this Open though. Just back to golf real quick, because the guy who won's from Georgia, and I'm pretty proud about that. He's going to be down. Maybe I'll go see if I can catch his farm down in Savannah.
Yeah, David, what'd you
There we
think?
are.
You
There we are.
mentioned
Yeah,
something
look,
about
he did so well.
yeah. So I mean, he won by what, 6 strokes at Royal Liverpool, and like you said, it wasn't very didn't seem to be very competitive, but I mean, he really kind of took it away. Talk about the course, I guess, a little bit. Have you played Royal Liverpool?
Yeah, I played it. I played it a couple of times, not since they put the new 17th in, but I'm actually playing it again in a couple of weeks, so it'll be interesting to experience that. I mean, I think it's really, it's not a course that people rave about, but I think it's quite an underrated course. If you ask people which rotor courses do you really want to play, it's unlikely to be in the top two or three that people mention, but I really like the course. Um, Without a doubt, it's a course where accuracy is rewarded. And I guess you look at Brian Harman, he might not be one of the longest players on tour, but is very accurate. Um, there is so much sand on that golf course, not as much as Royal Lytham, which is just up the road, which has got the most insane amount of bunkering, but there's a lot. So being able to plot your way around that is absolutely key. What makes it even more interesting when it's really, really dry is, of course, so many bunkers come into play. As soon as it gets wet, it's more around the accuracy of how you can strategically move around it. The greens aren't the most interesting greens. You'd have seen there's not a huge amount of movement on them. So as a result, it really was a test of who was executing really, really well, which is so often the case. But he was pretty faultless. Like even when both on Saturday and Sunday he dropped a couple of shots early on, like came straight back in there. So just when people thought there was a glimmer of hope of getting in, um, it was almost like he'd immediately make a birdie, and the guys who were getting close immediately dropped one, and it was like, this isn't going to get exciting after all.
Yeah, it was quite a win, and I believe, like you said, it might not be one we remember forever, but I think, like he maybe mentioned during the press conference or something, you can't take it away from him, right? His name is on the claret jug forever.
Absolutely. Look, it isn't his fault that he played so well. Hey, I mean,
I know.
and it isn't like Paul Lawrie won at Carnoustie in 1999, and the conditions for that last round were pretty wild. And as a result, you then get people saying, okay, was it just a bit random? And actually, I think that interpretation is wrong, by the way, because without a doubt, Paul Lawrie went out and won that day. But Brian Harman didn't just win this on one round on Sunday when the weather got bad. You know, he did it over 4 rounds, being a front runner, knowing that the whole of the world is watching him. And yet, and let's face it, not having much support from the fans. I didn't think the fans were that great over the weekend, not just because they weren't very loud, but they obviously wanted someone locally to win. So he had all that against him, and yet he absolutely won this event.
Yeah, it was, it's the last major of the year. It was fun to watch either way, even if it didn't get that close and exciting. But you were sitting there waiting maybe for a mistake to happen that would cost 2 or 3 strokes, and it just did not happen. But let's talk about what you do. You specialize in golf travel all throughout the UK, but everywhere else in the world as well. How did you get into the golf travel and I say tourism business? What
Yeah.
got you into that?
So I started a website, UK Golf Guide, going back probably 10 years, really just aimed at to document different courses that I'd played. And as much as anything to keep a record. I had a bit of spare time, easy to set up a blog on Squarespace. That's what I did. And then Twitter came along, while it was still Twitter. And I started an account there, again, just really talking about the different places that I played. And what I soon found there was a community of probably nerds out there who previously hadn't really had an outlet, because I'm old enough to remember um, when the internet began, if you like. And pre then, if you were into your golf courses or you wanted to share things, it was only people who lived around you or you happened to have met in the golf club you could really share that with. And clearly, what happens through Twitter is that communities really grew. And I found myself getting introduced to lots of people in the golf industry, getting a few of them to write for the website I was doing, incredibly generously. Some big name authors in the world, some major champions, all happy to put stuff there, which was absolutely great. And then more and more people started to follow along, and that was all good. And then I got to the position. I've worked in industry for my career. I'm 49 now, and have worked at various different companies, whether that's Procter and Gamble was my first one out of university, so a big US FMCG business. Then went into financial services in the UK. And when my last role during COVID time came to an end, I was really the thought of, do I want to go back in to do another commercial job like that? Or should I try to do something with what was a hobby, but was a hobby which I had a huge amount of passion for? And that old thing about, if you're doing something you really enjoy, it's not like going to work, give that a bit of a test. So I through a few contacts that I'd made, was able to put together a trip to Paris. And I don't know if you or your listeners know much about golf in Paris. Obviously, the Ryder Cup was at Le Golf National. Well, the Golf National is very unlike everything else in Paris. All the other courses are very private, not US in design, but often from the 1920s, the 1930s, really interesting courses, but really hard to get on. And I had a couple of contacts, so I was able to put together a trip, which was to Paris. I put out a tweet about that, and the good thing was, had lots and lots of people get in who were keen to go on that trip, and that went really well. And then I put together one for Australia, which we're going to do next year, but I put this out last year. Put out one tweet, and we had a trip to Australia sold out within 6 hours. So I put out another tweet and sold out the one for the week after, and that sold out in just a couple of days. So the insight there was there's a group of people who are really interested in playing interesting courses, maybe don't have a group of friends who necessarily want to do the same thing. Because I had a trip to Ireland, we did to the northwest of Ireland a couple of months ago. We've got one coming here to East Lothian in Scotland in a few weeks' time. And interesting, the people who sign up for them are obviously just ones or twos, but not big groups. If you want to go on a big group, you might go if you're over here to Spain or to Portugal, or in the US, you might do a trip, up to kind of Bandon or to Pinehurst. Well, this is for the ones and the twos who really want to do something a little bit out of the ordinary. And for all of those trips, I try and do something out of the ordinary. So the one we had in Ireland, we played a new course called Ross of Penna, St. Patrick's Links. The architect's Tom Doak, so he came on a Zoom call before and talked about how we'd put the course together. So it's trying to add those extra things to it, I guess. So that was really how I got into it. I tried a few other things. I've done some writing as well, and I still write for some of the magazines here in the UK. Do some drone work. Love taking pictures of golf courses. So trying different things in the industry. And then I met up with a group called the Outpost Club, which is a US society. Got just under 1,000 incredibly passionate golfers who love going on trips as part of the Outpost Club. And we've set up a separate business called Outpost Overseas now, which is really managing all their international travel. So either you can do that if you're a member of the Outpost Club. We're starting in Argentina next February. We end up in New Zealand in November, but we'll go to Japan, to the UK, to France, to Holland, lots of places in between. Or if just you want to have a trip yourself, whether you're an Outpost Club member or not, we'll organize that for you. So yeah, kind of got into it relatively later in my career, but hopefully still got plenty to give. And it gives me the chance to play lots of courses still, to meet lots of people with a passion for it, and just to really keep on learning.
Absolutely, yeah. Getting the opportunity yourself to play and visit some of these cool courses is has got to be a great bonus with all of that. But very nice. Well, you mentioned earlier sun up for something in the morning, sundown 10, 11 at night. Is the
Yeah.
best time of year for people to kind of travel and do a golf trip the summertime?
Um, yes, it's a slightly qualified yes, in that, I often get asked, especially for people coming from the States, what's the best time of year to come for the weather? Um, I push early summer. It happened again this year. It's happened so many times recently. May and June can be really nice. In Edinburgh, August, we have a big international arts festival, the Edinburgh Festival, and God, the number of times I've stood at a venue there getting absolutely poured on, and it's really wet. August can be quite a wet month. It gets nicer again in September, October. Um, so I kind of tend to say it's also much harder getting accommodation in July and August. It's harder to get tee times. If you want to try and get on the old course, it's really tough. So I'd say actually try to push it a little bit to the sides come early summer, even come as early as the beginning of April. And I would say through to the end of October. It could be that the weather's not great, but you can book the middle of July and the weather's not going to be great. You come to the east coast of Scotland. East coast of Scotland, where I am, is drier than it is over on the west. So there's not a perfect time to come. There's no time you come, it's going to be, you're not going to see any rain. But I think any time between April, say middle of April to middle of October, you've got a pretty good shout of getting some good weather.
Are there any areas that are sort of off the beaten path? I mean, obviously everyone knows about the old course and places like that, but is
Yeah.
there a place that you could sort of land and find a week's worth of golf that most people wouldn't know to look?
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of a lot of, I think almost anything when you get out of around St Andrews, around Muirfield, and around Turnberry, those clusters have all got like the big names there. As soon as you push away from there, you start getting some really interesting stuff. So you could fly into Glasgow. And then a little bit of a drive from Glasgow Airport, you get to Machrihanish, which some people have heard of, but not that many people, to be honest, you really get to. Said to have the most spectacular opening hole in the whole of golf. Gorgeous links course, lovely rumpled ground in the most spectacular part of Scotland, in the kind of the extreme southwest. You go from there, right next door, there's a place called Machrihanish Dunes. There's then some smaller courses, some nine-holers, or some just short course. When I say short, somewhere like Dunaverty, which is just 20 minutes away, half an hour away. It's under 5,000 yards, but you'll just have great fun. Then you go over on the ferry to the Macquarie, which is on Isla, if you're into your whiskey as well. Again, lovely course. Then you go to Arran. You can play Shiskin, you can play Brodick, places where, frankly, it'll cost you 30 or 40 pounds to play around. They might not be perfectly manicured, but the conditioning will be really good. And you're seeing the most beautiful countryside. So that west area, I'm actually taking a trip there next year, and I'm so looking forward to it because there'll be people who will just be blown away with just how spectacular it is. But then as well, I'd love to know, I should know what percentage of people from the States ever get to Cruden Bay, say. Now, Cruden Bay is up in the northeast in Aberdeen. It is just spectacular, quirky, fun, tons going on. It's really hard to get tee times in the St Andrews area, in the East Lothian area. Things are crazy expensive and are sold out months, if not year plus in advance. To give you an idea, for next year, Muirfield's put all their tee times up in March this year. They've sold out within a couple of days. So you're not going to play Muirfield, right? But instead, just go a bit further out, and you'll find some fantastic courses which might not have the same history of having an open, but they'll be just as old and they'll be just as interesting in some ways, and they'll cost you a tenth of the price. So I would say if you push more to the extremes, when you start doing a little bit more traveling to get there from the airport, you tend to find some real opportunities.
One thing that one of our previous guests, another travel guy here from the US that goes over to Ireland a good bit, he mentioned instead of trying to travel and go to all the different places, like find a spot like you were talking about and play all the courses. Play the ones no one's heard about or the ones that aren't the famous popular ones. Because like you were
Yeah,
saying, you can find some really great links courses or old courses that have incredible views. You see the country, and you're
yeah.
playing golf somewhere different.
And actually, you do tend to get more of that. And I'm slightly biased in Scotland than in Ireland. In Ireland, you tend to find there's quite a lot of driving between different areas or even between courses in an area. If you want to do the southwest islands, you'll still spend quite a lot of time driving around, even if you stayed in one particular place. In Scotland, we've got 560 plus courses in a place of only 6 million people, and there's a lot of golf. You will never drive more than 20 minutes, half an hour before coming on another golf course. And it kind of upsets me in some ways when you see people who just want to play all the big names and nothing else, and all they're doing is going in a car to the next place, getting there late at night, go to play golf. It might be raining, they might be wet, loading up the car, driving to the next place. And it's like, oh, but you're driving past so many wonderful courses with great history. You go between Edinburgh Airport and the old course, it takes you just over an hour to drive there. You're passing by courses which old Tom designed in the 1880s, which you could pay for £25. And okay, they might not have 18 holes, which are as good as the 760 course, but they're going to have a couple that aren't that far away. So just try to think about, okay, it's so tempting to try to play all those courses, but give yourself more time in each place because then you get to spend time in the pubs. You go to the same pub 2 or 3 nights on the trot and you start meeting the same people and you feel the different kind of holiday than going from one luxury hotel to the next.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned or you posted this morning about a golf map of Scotland. Tell us about that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So during lockdown, we had quite a harsh lockdown over here in that we had a few weeks you literally were only allowed out of your house for an hour a day to walk, and you could only go a certain distance away. Weren't allowed to drive outside of your county, so it was pretty strict. Um, and we couldn't travel. But I started planning to go on a camping holiday with the family when things opened up to the north of Scotland. And I had a map of Scotland in front of me and just put a tweet out saying, "Does anyone know any cool golf courses to play in this particular area?" Um, and then someone actually replied and said, "Is that a map with all of the golf courses of Scotland on? That would be such a cool thing." And it wasn't. It was just a map of Scotland. But that got me thinking about actually that would be quite a good thing to do. Because to your point, everyone knows where St Andrews, Carnoustie, Kings Bars are. Do you know what you're driving past? And while I spend as much time on Google Maps as any planning holidays, unless you know what you're looking for on Google Maps, again, not everything's there. So I learned about cartography and how to make a map, and it was the caravan map that I had actually. So I spoke to the people who put that together, and they put me in touch with a cartographer who then was able to do one for me for Scotland. So I spent quite a lot of time just looking up every single course. There was a guy who lives quite uh, close to where I am, who someone put me in touch with, who's played every single course in Scotland. So he was a great guy to get to know because he could then say to me, "Oh, that one's closed now. No, you've got that one a bit." Well, that was amazing. And then launched that, and it's been great. It's on Amazon. I sold it on my website for a while. It's pretty much sold out now. So I put on Twitter this morning just some of the images because I know I'd made some mistakes and things have changed. Some have closed. I think much has opened. So I've asked for some input, got some good input in there. So we'll print it again in a few weeks, out in time for Christmas. So there we are. And it is quite old school, right? But there's something just nice about planning a trip with an actual map in front of you. And it only costs $10, so you know.
Yeah. We'll be sure to check that out and be looking forward to when it comes out because,
I was about to
Jonathan and
say.
I keep trying to tell him like, hey, let's make a trip. One, we'll come meet you and play with you in person somewhere over there. But two, for those that are planning a trip, like how cool is it to go ahead and I mean, if you're thinking about it and dreaming about it, go ahead and have up on your wall the golf map of
Yeah,
Scotland and just kind of drool over it until the trip comes, right? So
yeah.
very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, for sure.
That's a great thing. So yeah, we'll be on the lookout for that.
I was
Good
going to
stuff.
say put us down for two because at least
Yeah.
two because that doesn't sound that could go up on a wall, right? Robbie's almost full
Yeah, I'll
on his
move
wall.
some
I
of
think I
this
still
stuff
got
and
some
we'll put it
room.
right behind me.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Well, I am doing a poster version as well because the one comes like a map. It's kind of all folded up, but I've got a poster version as well. So I'm going to be doing a few more of those. So I will send you a note when they're ready.
Yeah, please
Be
do.
great. Well, as you know, if you've heard any of our podcasts, we always want to hear about the best golf shots. You know, everyone has that story of the pure drive, the hole in one. So, of all the places you played, what would you put as your best golf shot?
Gosh, in some ways, I shouldn't have to think about this too hard because I've not hit too many good golf shots. But um, look, there's places which are just really special places to hit the golf shots, and that's probably what I remember more rather than the outcome of the actual shot itself. It's more just that experience of being there to hit it. Um, However, having played this game for 40 years, I did finally get a hole in one last year. So I was at Rossapedda, which is in the northwest of Ireland, and they've got three courses there. I was on a crazy schedule trying to play so many different courses in there and in that area. So I got up very early, teed off at I think it was 6:30 in the morning, maybe 6:40 in the morning, to play the old course there, the old Tom course. Teed off, um, wasn't playing great, but it was a windy day. Got to the 17th. It's a par three. It was playing about 190, 180, 190 yards into a two club wind. So I took out a two iron, hit the two iron up there. Can't see the green. I got up there. I spent a good 5 minutes looking around in the rough, in the bunker, checked it all, and did that thing we've all done. And just when you walk past the hole, having a look in, and there it was. It was there sitting in the hole. What was weird about that was I then got in. There was not a soul there. Everyone was either out of the course or hadn't turned up yet because it was still only 8:30. I think I got round in just over 2 hours. So I went in, got myself a breakfast, ordered a pint of the black stuff, and enjoyed that to myself. So yeah, if you ask me, the one that I remember the most, it probably is still that one.
Yeah, I would be definitely the guy wandering around looking for my ball in the brush and not realizing that it actually went in the hole because that's just not going to
Yeah,
happen.
exactly.
That I'll tell you what, that's also an impressive shot. 190-yard par three, and you nailed it down there.
with a 2 iron.
Yeah, it
I
was two
know.
wide into a two club wins, but if you hit enough balls, eventually it'll happen. It's like a monkey on a typewriter, isn't it? Something happens sometimes.
Well, it has not happened for either Jonathan and I yet. So maybe we need to
No,
borrow your 2 iron.
You got to play more.
Yeah.
we're planning the 100-shot challenge. Well, probably 50-shot challenge since we'd be too sore with 100. But we're trying to find a par three place where we can see if we can get close to the hole. I'm hoping just to hit a green. So if we can, we'll start there. Well, well, we always do another thing to wrap up our time with you here. We call it the quick nine. So we're just going to ask you a quick 9 questions in succession. You can
Yeah.
say yes, no, short answers, long answers. And you might have already mentioned this because you've listed more courses than I can imagine. What is the favorite course that you've played so far?
Um, Near to me, probably the West Links at North Berwick. I love North Berwick. It's one of the most fun courses in the world. It's now in the top 50 in the world, so it's no longer a hidden gem, but there's still a lot of people who don't play it because it's never had an open. I just love North Berwick. It's just the most perfect place to play.
Yeah. A lot of pros were visiting that during the Scottish Open, right?
Yeah, I mean that's like a testament to it. I think Justin and Jordan Spieth, Justin Thompson, Jordan Spieth had played 9 holes that afternoon at the Renaissance, went down to North Berwick, pulled their own trolley around and played 18 holes. And like, where else do players do that on a tour stop? Because it's such fun and it's such an exciting place to play golf, a way of playing golf, and unlike what they get to play the rest of the time. So that kind of speaks volumes.
Do you have what's the course that you would say is on your, and we've heard somebody say this, a realistic bucket list, right? And I think I've seen on your podcast or your blog or something that, Augusta National, obviously everybody would love to play that, but maybe a realistic course that, man, if I could play that one, that's where I want to play.
Look, I'm really, really lucky in terms of the number of courses that I've been to. I've played at Pine Valley, which was amazing. I played LACC. I played some of these. So maybe I'm being slightly too hopeful, but I think it's realistic I'll get to Cyprus. I don't quite know how yet, but that's probably the one. Which, if you say if there's one course that you'd really want to get to, it would be Cyprus. And I've got a couple of friends. I had one guy who I almost managed to wangle my way in, so I'm hopeful it'll happen sometime. But I mean, so many people say they think that's the best golf course in the world. And I've been to Pine Valley and absolutely respect it as a golf course without any doubt at all. And I liked it as well, but I didn't love it in the way that I think it's possible to love Cyprus. But I want to go and find out for myself.
Sure.
Well, everyone, all of our listeners know my love of tacos on golf courses. So, what is the course in the UK that has the best on-course food option?
Um, so on-course food is not as big here as it is in the States. So in Scotland, a lot of courses either don't have have a stop after 9, or it's relatively recent. However, some do. There's one in just outside of London called Sunningdale, and everyone goes on about the sausage sandwich you have at the halfway house at Sunningdale. It's the most overrated thing you could imagine, to be honest with you. So I'm not going to include that, but I'm sure some people will be thinking that should be there. Um, there's a course on the Isle of Jura called Ardfin, off the west coast of Scotland. And they've got a halfway house, which is an old converted um, house you get to after playing 11 holes, I think it is. And that is absolutely gorgeous. You get some soup. It's nothing too special. You get some soup, you get a pie, and you get a nice big glass of whiskey. It's a tough course. It's a brood of a course, but it's the most magical, magical spot. So having that there is pretty special. So I think if you said there's one halfway house I could go to tomorrow, it would be that one at Ardfin.
Very nice. Who's in your dream foursome?
Oh, that's a good question. it's probably recency bias, but Brian Harmon. No, I'm only joking. It's I'd I probably would want to play with Rory, right? Just to see. I find it so weird. I've seen him a few times. I watched him last week. This relatively small guy who hits the ball further than anyone else. Just to see someone play the game at that level, I think would be great. And also, he strikes me as the kind of guy who's not just all about himself. People I know who played with him say he's genuinely interested, or certainly looks at about other people. He's interested in things outside of golf, which is quite nice as well. So I think he'd be a good person to play with. My father's no longer able to get out and play any golf, I'm afraid. But he very much he introduced me to the game. So if I could get him back a few years, that would be a pretty cool thing to do. And then I'm lucky. I've got several friends in the game, or people who were good friends who are all into golf. And I could perm any one of kind of 6 or 7 of those guys. So that would probably do it.
Especially if you told him Rory's going to be there in the group.
Yeah, we're playing Cyprus as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Rory, when
That's
you
right.
listen to this, give David a call.
Well, this might be the same answer, but who is your favorite pro golfer right now,
Um,
besides Brian?
besides Brian, yeah. Look, I think that Rory is just there's just something about him. He's really human. You see that he isn't one of these guys who's just a machine. You can kind of see that what he's thinking, what he's feeling. Some of the time, you can tell when he's up, you can tell when he's down. He's incredibly frustrating to support. But I was standing 20 yards away from him at the Scottish Open 10 days ago when he hit a 2-iron 200 yards to that last green. And, the excitement that just went through the crowd when he did that is something pretty special. And like he's as popular in the States as he is over here. I was fortunate enough to go to the Los Angeles Open at Riviera this year, as well as the Scottish Open here, and the fans were cheering for him just as loud over there as they were over here. There's just something about him which I think people want to see, people want to watch. So he would definitely be of the top players, the one that I'd want to go out and watch more than anyone.
All right. We're back to you playing. What's the best round you've had? Where was it?
In terms of score,
Sure.
scars. So I've only broken 80 a few times on a past 72 golf course. I did that at the West Links in North Berwick a few times, so that's quite a good one. It's probably the first time that I did that. It was at the course I'm a member of called Archerfield. I had a 78 there, and I'd never been under 80 before, and that was the most exciting because I knew exactly what I had to do. The other members of my group weren't even looking at scores. I didn't have a clue. And as that bit was, do you tell them that this is really important or not? But it's funny. There's a kind of cultural thing over here. I reckon I keep score 1 in 10 rounds. Most golf is match played, and you don't even pull out. I'm not saying I would have been under 80 that many more times. I don't think I would have been. But over here, when I travel in Australia, like everyone counts everything all the time. In the States, you guys like to keep score. You might be a bit more friendly when it comes to getting the putts sometimes than they are in Australia. Over here, if someone's out of the hole, you just move on to the next one sometimes.
What is the worst weather you've ever played in?
I was in northern Italy last year playing, and I'd never played golf in Italy and was really keen to do it. And we went to this one course, and oh my goodness, it was incredible. It was very, very wet, and I'm used to rain over here, right? Because we get plenty of rain, we get plenty of wind. Um, I've played here in a 4 club winds probably once a year. But we had the most incredible monsoon to the point that the course just flooded. And when I say the course flooded, it wasn't like there were some pools of water. Literally within 5 minutes, we got to about the 8th hole. We took some shelter. The entire course just turned into water in a way you couldn't see any green anymore. And it was like totally surreal how suddenly it must have just been the way that the place was um, sit versus the water table and stuff, and it was just like a lake. So we had to go back into the clubhouse and wait for it to pass. And they said, "This isn't passing," and we left it. We never saw any green again. So that was pretty bad. But that just took us going off the course. I mean, I have Well, here's one I did. I did a charity walk from North Berwick to St Andrews, which is quite a long way. You did it over 10 days, and I stopped to play golf every day. And this was in May. To a question we had earlier, what's the best time to come? It was May, and it was cold, it was windy, and then hailstorms came, and the hailstones were just huge. The entire course went completely white, and it was freezing, and it was the middle of May. So when you think what's the best time to come to play golf in Scotland, it could be any time.
Yeah. Well, we will. I know you are on a time crunch. Let me ask one more question. What is the best thing about joining you on one of your golf trips?
Yeah. Um, I think it is about getting to meet other people who are just really into their golf, who are like total golf nuts. You'll get to spend time with people who are probably like-minded. You've got someone else organizing it all for you. You know, there's a lot of attractions there, but there's lots of trips that do that. I think here it's around finding some of the places a bit off the beaten track, hearing the stories from some of the people who've been intimately involved in them, and spending time with people who you're probably going to get on with.
Very nice. Well, that's what we talk about. You know, we try to help tell golf stories, right? That's what we are interested in, helping people share that. And we keep making reference to the fact it's not about, like you said, you might not keep score, uh, and it might not be the greatest place in the world to play, but it's about who you play with, right? And so I think that's
Absolutely.
great. Excited about what you are doing. Yeah, follow David on Twitter at UK Golf Guy. Check out his website, ukgolfguy.com. He's got some awesome maps, golf maps of Scotland coming out. But yeah, David, we really appreciate you joining us. I know you got to jump, but
No, thank you for the time.
yeah, appreciate you being
It's
here
been
with us today.
really good to talk to you. And it would be great when you do come over here next time. Please let me know and bring the clubs, eh?
Absolutely. We will
Sounds like
plan
a
on.
plan.
Yep. Good stuff. Well, yeah, I'm gonna ask Jonathan a couple questions. Jonathan, I didn't tell you before, but yesterday he was at instead of the closing last round of the Open, he was at the final stage of the Tour de France. So
Oh wow,
ask him.
that's a good alternative. Yeah.
It wasn't a bad way. We were right at the corner, Arch de Triomphe on the Champs Elysees. Got to see the last 55K in person. Apparently, we found the American section because probably 50% of everyone standing around us was from the US. A couple folks from the
Yeah.
UK, Australia, places like that. But yeah, I've been a Tour de France fan for about 20 some odd years now. My wife and I were talking about it the other day. Back in it's been 2002, you'd get up and you'd hear Paul and Phil chatting away over the computer, but there was no visual or anything. It would just be a little dot chasing across up and down screen, and it was 4 o'clock in the morning sitting in my house watching my computer screen for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And so the culmination to be able to be in Paris for the weekend, which was amazing.
Oh,
Yeah, a
what was the
highlight for
atmosphere
sure.
like as they came around that last bend? Was it a good atmosphere?
It really was like it was started raining early, and so there was some concern that it was still going to be wet. I actually I don't know if I should say this out loud. The Paris cops might come after me, but they were shutting. We stayed at a hotel just down the street, and they were shutting everything down early in the morning, so we couldn't really walk anywhere on the Champs Elysees.
Hmm.
So I was like, you know what though? There's still cars, so I grabbed I grabbed a Lime bike, electric bike, and I actually rode on the Champs Elysees and around the Arc de Triomphe. And then finally, a cop came out and like pointed at me like, "Hey, I need you to get off the road." So, um,
Wow.
yeah, it was an incredible experience. It was one of those things. Robbie and I have talked about this a lot, and I don't know if you've been, but the Augusta National is one of those
Yeah.
experiences that it lives up to the moment.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and if you're a sports fan or if you're a cycling fan for sure, it lived up to the moment. To watch those guys come around the corner, they're pushing 55K. We were close enough. You could like see the mouths hanging open and the fear in their eyes as they're trying to dart down the cobblestones. So
Wow.
it was definitely a plus. I'm trying to figure out what the rest of my sort of sports bucket list needs to be, right? A Super Bowl, a World
Yeah.
Series, maybe. Try to
Yeah.
find some
No,
good football.
that's set quite a high standard now, though, for sure.
Oh, for
Absolutely.
sure. Yeah, because you're and this is like in golf, you're right in the moment, right? You're not just in the stand somewhere separated. we were 30 feet away from the bikes.
Yeah.
The French TV car decided to sort of spin out a little bit around the corner. So that was kind of fun too. But yeah, quite a good weekend. Not as much golf. So next time, whenever we cross the pond, we'll make sure to look you up, and Robbie and I will come and play some golf too.
Sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
Great.
Great. Thanks
Well,
a lot, guys. All the best.
David, thanks. Jonathan,
Appreciate it.
thank you. This has been the Whole
Yep.
Story Podcast.